guys, how are you?
Good, how are
Hi,
you?
Rachel.
I'm doing well. I want to just ask you both right off the bat, how does it feel knowing like now another generation's going to be terrified of cornfields?
Kate, take it.
Oh, I think it's pretty cool because, I know that Children of the Corn has had this there's like 11 films now, so I feel like it's pretty exciting for Kurt's new adaptation on it, and I'm excited for people to be able to see it.
But Rachel, have you ever been in a cornfield?
I drove by them quite a bit and I
No.
don't like them.
Yeah, well, it doesn't take our film to make people scared of cornfields. Cornfields are just scary. They
Yeah.
just are. There's no Disney film that will ever be set in a cornfield, I promise you.
Yeah, I one time got trapped. We had to do a U-turn because we went the wrong way going to Six Flags in New Jersey, and we were by a cornfield, and my friend and I both just like sat like this as the car turned because we were just like, get us away from the cornfield.
Yeah, no, it's been. I think I've been to that Six Flags, by the way.
It's in the middle of nowhere, so there were plenty of cornfields to drive by.
Yeah.
But with a movie like this, Kate, it's inherent, it's not inherent, it's dependent on your performance and being kind of the leader of these children and being that kind of scary force that the movie does need to push forward. And you do such a great job at it. So for
Thank
you,
you.
what was the draw to playing that role and getting to be sinister at such a young age?
Well, when I first read the script, I was 11 at the time, so I wasn't really focused too much on like the deeper meanings, but I was really drawn to Eden's character and how strong she was and how much of a leadership role she was able to, come into. And I thought that would be a fun challenge for me because, we were filming in Australia and this was the biggest role I've ever done. So I was like, okay, this is going to be a really big challenge for me. And I thought, this would be a really fun thing to be able to show people.
Rachel, can I tell you something funny?
Yeah, of course.
Yesterday, to a very similar question, Kate said, I really liked Eden because I like her because she's a go-getter.
She is. You can't
I
fault
know.
her on that.
I
She is a
know.
go-getter.
She is a go-getter.
Just maybe not in the best way. She's a go-getter.
Yeah.
She has a goal and she commits to it.
She certainly does.
Booker, like obviously we're all obsessed with Stephen King stories and adaptations and telling these stories over and over again because there's always something new to learn within them. And so telling another Children of the Corn story and kind of kicking off this new adaptation, did you have any hesitations or were you just like, no, I want to go to the cornfield and I want to have fun?
I'm way too dumb to have hesitations, honestly. I probably should at sometimes in a lot of things I do in life. But no, that's what you said it yourself. Stephen King his stories are so universal and they appeal universally. And that's one of the strengths of them. But they're also, they're not niche films, they're not targeted to like one very specific audience. They're for everybody. And because of that, the stories are very elastic. And so you can take those stories, like you could take Carrie, and you could certainly retell it today, but kids are different, with social media, and they're living different lives than they were in 1977 when the first movie came out. So you can retell these stories for new generations. And when I looked at Children of the Corn, the first one was about religious fanatics, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they thought their parents were corrupt, and so they kind of put them in line. Well, that obviously wouldn't play today, but still the concept of generational conflict does play. The children grow up and have different views than their parents, and parents have different views from their children. And everybody's trying to sort of have this power struggle, and kids always sort of come into their own agency at some point. They have to stop listening to their parents at some point. And that's a story that's always going to be tellable, I think. And in this particular case, it struck me that it almost wrote itself, that, kids today are particularly politically conscious, and they are more and more speaking out, because social media, they have a megaphone and a platform that they never had before. And a lot of them are using it. And a lot of them are all really concerned primarily about the state of the earth and what adults are doing with it. But they don't have any way to express themselves because they're not allowed to vote, even though they're the ones who have to live with the problem. and the adults aren't. So it's kind of
Mhm.
backwards, isn't it? And so I thought, well, God, this Stephen King and its children and corn, it's almost like, to me, that's what, he meant for it to happen. I think, in 10 years they should, make another one, and it'll be a different story, because kids are going to be different. That was a long answer, I know. Sorry.
No, you're fine. Well, and it's interesting because you said that, and I was gonna ask Kate. So, like, a theme in Stephen King's work. I don't know how big into Stephen King you are, Kate, but is that, like, a lot of his kids are terrifying, but they're terrifying for a good reason and a right reason. Like, even Pet Cemetery, where it's not about the kid, it's still like a kid wants his pet and will do whatever it takes. And so it's kind of, you know, all tied into these children knowing things, but being kind of sinister about it, which is why we kind of go to these stories anyway. And
Mhm.
so for you in crafting Eden and that idea that is, she comes from a good a good place, a good line of thinking. Like, they're trying to protect the world and the corn and everything, but they're doing it in a very extreme manner. How do you kind of approach that on a grounded level as an actor and make that so real and grounded that you do understand her motivations and you understand what she's doing, even though you also see the extreme she's willing to take it?
Mhm. Well, before I think we even started filming, Kurt and I, we because COVID had like hit, like as we like the day I left to go to Australia,
Mhm.
we got to spend a lot of time. Zoom was like our best friend, and we got to spend a lot of time, developing the characters and
It's in quarantine.
Mhm.
yeah, developing the characters and how they would react. So like Elena, who plays Bo, and we would go through scenes that aren't necessarily in the movie, and we'd figure out how our characters would react to certain things, and that definitely helped with character building. Kurt also gave me a bunch of other like outside material and resource to help me get in the headspace of this sort of story that Eden's trying to she's trying to carry. And I wanted her, she's not crazy, she's been through a lot, and
Mhm.
adults who she's supposed to be able to trust have betrayed it constantly. So I feel like she's at this point where she's just going to take control.
Yeah. Uh, go ahead.
And
And she does, because she's a
she's go get
go-getter.
she's go get her.
She's a
Go get
go-getter.
She would make the ideal employee. Can you imagine? Like, you know what? Put it on Eden's desk. Eden Edward will handle. This is getting to handle. We can all go home now, because this is done.
Yeah, it's like when you look at like the hierarchy of Stephen King kids who would get stuff done, it's like Eden, maybe the girl from Firestarter, and then Danny Torrance is like at the bottom. Like, he's not doing anything. He's not getting anything done. He's just riding around on a bicycle. Uh, but Kurt, with this, you do have a younger cast. Like, there are adults, and we get to see some of the adult scenes, but for the most part, you're dealing with a lot of younger actors coming to these darker roles. And how was it kind of navigating that on top of all of the COVID protocols and all of the
Well,
elements?
it was interesting, because as Kate pointed out, we started shooting in April 2020. We were the only film shooting on Earth. In the entirety of our shoot, we were the only, for the first time in a century, there was one film shooting on the planet, and it was ours. And having, with COVID, and having kids, there's an especially large responsibility.
Mhm.
And but fortunately, nobody got sick whatsoever, so that was great.
That's awesome.
But the other part of your question, I was very conscious. I was very concerned about making a movie with kids, with nothing but kids, because this movie's told. The difference between this and all the other movies, children's horror movies, this is told from the kids' point of view
Mhm.
instead of the adults, and the kids are the victims and not the adults, which I think is weirdly backwards. I mean, how can adults be victims? I mean, cry me a river, okay? But I was really conscious how dangerous it is to go into, because we've seen movies with kids, with a lot of kids in them, and we always have to kind of cut them some slack, because there's always one or two kids who are staring off into space, skylarking, picking their nose or something like that, in the
Mhm.
shot, or they're looking in the camera, particularly young kids, and I was really aware, wow, this is really, you're asking for it. But these kids, and some of them were non-actors, they all did a great job, and because we were in a bubble together, of our own creating, they became very close, because there was camera pointed at them at all time. They eventually forgot about it, and they lost that self-consciousness that I think you see in almost every other film that has a lot of kids in it. And so I'm very proud of them all for that. And so yes, I was worried about it, but those kids really did me a solid.
They were all go-getters. I'm just they were go-getters. They did it. With them
Can do people.
can-do attitude. That
Yeah.
should be the tagline of Children of the Corn.
Yeah.
You can fix it if you have a can-do attitude.
Yeah.
With a movie like this, it is obviously like people are going to see it exclusively because of the name. We know Children of the Corn. Even if you haven't seen these movies, you are aware that children live in the corn. It's kind of hard to get around it. It's all right there. But for both of you, and Kate, if you want to start, what do you hope audiences take away when they see this iteration of the story?
Well, for me, I have a couple of things. Definitely there's Kurt, he's put so many there's so many layers to the story, and I feel like there's a bunch of messages that, people I hope will be able to pick up and try and, place themselves in that situation in the real world, because I feel like a lot of these situations are very relevant to what's going on today. But also the two main characters, Bo and Eden, I feel like they are also very relatable characters that people can see themselves in. And don't murder people, but people can
Disclaimer.
Disclaimer, don't do that.
Just take, they can apply some of I don't know, maybe Eden's ambition to, some of their real life goals or dreams and try and chase them, because she's just what she does, just a little more aggressively.
The problem solver.
I love
it. I love it. And Kurt, what do you hope? And you mentioned looking at the environment and how you can do it at 10 years.
And mostly I want people to be entertained. That's what I want. Mostly I want people to go and have a good time and say, okay, that was worth my $10, or if I rent it on, online, it's my $5, or whatever it is. That's what I want mostly, first and foremost, because if you don't have that, you don't have anything. And then, there's a lot of fun stuff in there, like Easter eggs. A lot of people don't see, the fact that these kids that play in this corn that's dying all day long, the corn's covered with this fungus, these ergot-like funguses that cause hallucinations. I mean, Bolin is clearly hallucinating at the beginning of the film. She talks about it. So what does that mean about everything that happens afterwards? There's a lot of different ways to look at this movie. And, I hope that, people look and see, well, wait a minute, there's a number of different ways to interpret what's going on here, and is this monster real? What is going on? And so that's what I want, that is for them to enjoy, be entertained, and, hopefully to have enough mystery and question marks that they could watch it again someday.
Yeah. Thank you guys for talking to me today. I really appreciate it. I did the fungus stayed with me the whole movie. I was like, she mentions this in the beginning. I was just like, something's going on with the fungus. And so I was like, the whole time I was like, they're all in with the fungus. I got it.
Oh,
so you said that,
so
and
good.
I was like, I got it.
I'm glad you got it, because I think a lot of people are probably missing it. They're like, okay, great, that's cool.
No, I was like, as soon as she said it, I was like, yeah, I understand now. They're all it's a fungus, and she explained what it is. I'm in. I understand. No.
One day, I think maybe on some sort of special edition, we're going to release the real ending of this movie, the additional end, which will flip everything around. It's going to pop people's heads off if they like the movie.
Oh my God, I hope it happens. I want to see it. But thank you guys for
I think we will at some point.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Thank you guys for talking with me today. I really appreciate it, and can't wait for people to get to see Children of the Corn.
Thank you. So nice to talk to you.
Thank you. Bye.